Hi there, Mrs. Doran here. It's time to do some science today, year 3, and we've been learning about lots about light. So let's have a quick recap. Right, can you name a source of man-made light? Okay, if you said a torch, or I don't know, a telephone, or an iPad, then well done. Right, now, can you name a source of natural light? Okay, if you said fire or the sun, then well done. Good, I'm pleased you learned about that. So, if you look at what we're learning about today, we're learning about shadows. All right, we're learning that shadows are formed when the light from a light source is blocked by a solid object, and we're also looking at the patterns and the way that the size of shadows change. So that's what we're looking at today. We are going to do an experiment, and you will need a few things, but I will go through in a minute and to let you know what you're going to need. Okay. So before we start that, we're going to have a bit of a recap from year 2 because we need to remember what these words mean. So I've got 3 words here that you should have learnt about in year 2, but you might have forgotten and you might have missed it. So the 3 words are translucent, opaque, or transparent. So you're going to go away and have a think about that. Don't cheat and look on the internet, but have a think and see if you can remember what those words mean or what you think they mean. Okay, let me know when you're back. Right, you're back now? Okay, so let's have a look and see what these words mean. So the first word is translucent. Translucent means not easily seen through, but allowing light to pass through. So that might be something like coloured glass, or sometimes you get misty glass, or something like that. But light can pass through, but not clearly. Okay, let's go to the next word. Opaque. Can you remember what opaque means? We might have discussed it before. So opaque means a solid object. You cannot see through it. It is solid, so it will stop light passing through. Did you remember that? Well done if you did. And finally, the easiest word, transparent. Yeah, transparent means see-through and clear. So obviously an example of that is something like the window, because that's see-through and clear. So light definitely would pass through that. Well done if you got all those right. Don't worry if you didn't. Just try and remember them for next time. Okay, so the first thing we're doing today is we're thinking about what a shadow is. Well, it tells us down here. If you didn't knew, well done. So shadows are made by blocking light. You know, because we learned this already, that light rays travel from a light source in straight lines. If an opaque object gets in the way, it stops the light source from travelling, and then you have a dark image behind it. So a shadow is caused when an opaque object, solid object, gets in the way of the light, and it stops the light rays from travelling, and then you have your shadow forms behind. All right. Now today we're going to do an experiment to kind of like try and prove that, okay, and also to have a look at the way that shadows might change their shape. So for this experiment you will need a torch or another light source such as your torch app on the phone. You will need a tape measure and a ruler, or 2 tape measures. Now if you haven't got 2 tape measures or a tape measure and a ruler, it's okay. You do need to have 1 tape measure at the very least, but you will need to have 1 tape measure and you will need to make markings on the floor. The other thing you will need is an opaque solid object such as a can of beans or a wooden block. It works better if your object is kind of like has smooth edges, it doesn't have any sticking out bits, okay. So try and find those things. When you're ready, come back and I'll tell you what we're going to do for an experiment. Okay, right, you're back, so let's have a look at the experiment. So, a few things to do. So one thing that we need to do is we need to create a table to record our results in, which you can see that I've done here. And then we're going to set up our experiment. So let's do the table first. So the table that I've drawn here has 3 rows, okay? Then it has 11 columns. It has 10 quite small ones and 1 quite big one here. Now I've labelled my columns, my rows. So this one here says distance centimetre, this row, and in it I put 100 centimetres, then 90, then 80, then 70. You notice this goes all the way down in tens, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to measure out a metre on the ground, and then every 10 centimetres you're going to take a measurement. This is where if you haven't got 2 tape measures, you will need to mark out 10 centimetre intervals from 1 metre, okay? Then the next row says prediction. This is we're going to make a prediction about how tall my shadow will be. I've already filled this out, but 20 centimetres. I don't actually need to put centimetres because can you see it says centimetres there already? So I already told myself what it was. Then here it says height, centimetres, and this is the actual height of your shadow. Okay, so your actual height of your shadow when the torch is 100 centimetres away, or when it's 90 centimetres away. So the first thing you need to do is you need to draw a table to record your results. And in that you can put down results of light experiment as your title. Okay, so go away and do that. When you're ready, come back. Okay? Okay, won't be long. See you in a minute. Good, so you've drawn your table ready to go. So let's have a look at our experiment. Now, I've tried this experiment at home already today, and what I found is that you do need to put your object at least 10 centimetres, if not 20 centimetres, away from a wall or a blank surface. Can you see? A blank background. And you need that because your shadow should hopefully go onto the wall, be projected onto the wall, I think that word's saying. So you need to have a wall, leave a gap, put your object, and then from your object here, this is where you need to put your tape measure, okay? So from to a meter, and then look to see where every 10 centimetre intervals are. Right, you've got that. Right, so put your object at least 10 or 20 centimetres away from the wall, and you need to put your tape measure down, so from zero here to a meter, all right? So the meter bit will be here, 100 centimetres here. Get your torch. So the first thing you do, okay, at 1 meter, 100 centimetres, you write down your prediction. I put my prediction that my shadow will be 20 centimetres tall. I don't know that's right because I didn't actually measure it when I did it earlier. So then I'm going to put my torch on, and remember your room might need to be quite dark for this to work, so you might need to draw the curtains. So I'll put my torch on, and then I'm going to leave it there so the object is here, and then I'm going to measure how tall my shadow is here. So when I measured how tall my shadow is using my ruler or my other tape measure, I'm going to write the actual height in here, okay? That's all done. Now, that's my first measurement done. Now I'm going to move my torch 10 centimetres closer to my object. I'm going to write down my prediction here before I turn my torch on. Then I'm going to turn my torch on, and I'm going to measure how tall my shadow is. I'm going to keep doing that every 10 centimetres until my torch will just be 10 centimetres away from my object. And that'll be my last measurement. Right, so you're going to go and do that. When you've done that experiment, you're going to come back, and we've got some questions to answer about your experiment. Okay, so off you go. Have fun doing it. Okay, I'll see you in a few minutes. Right, you're back. How did your experiment go? It is interesting, isn't it? Sometimes it is a bit tricky. I did have to move my objects a couple of times to make sure I got it in the right position so I can measure its height or the length of the shadow. So now you've got to answer these questions. Now you can either write down the answers to these questions or you can discuss them with your family. The last question, question number 3, you will need to probably write down your results. So first of all, what happened to the shadow as the light source, as your torch got closer to the object? Okay, so what happened? So have a discussion with your family. Second question, did you observe any other changes in the shadow? So as it got closer, did some other changes happen to the shadow? Did it get lighter? I don't know. Did the shadow get darker? You might have noticed something else. Okay, question 3. Now this says repeat some of your observations. So go back to your experiment, which I hope you haven't cleared away yet, and repeat what happened at 20 centimetres, 60 centimetres, and 80 centimetres. See if your results changed. You need to write them underneath. If they did change, why do you think that was? Okay, so now you're going to go away, answer those questions, and when you finish, come back again because we've still got a little bit more work to do. So pause me, off you go, I'll see you in a minute. Okay, have you answered those questions? Right, well done. So let's see what happens about shadows. So there's a little video here for you to watch. You might need to copy and paste this link, and then you can watch it. Okay, it's from the BBC. It only lasts 44 seconds, it's not long. Right, have you watched the video? So I'm hoping that you notice this when you experiment, because shadows can change their size. The closer to the light source an object is, the bigger the shadow will be. Have a little look on your results and see if that's what happened. Did the shadow get bigger the closer the torch got to it? The reason for this is because the object blocks more of the light. The further away the light source is from the object, the smaller the shadow will be. Have a look again, check on your result. Okay, I'm hoping that happens as well. Sometimes you might have noticed that as well when you read your results that there are some changes, and there might be some changes, so the shadow might have changed because on the light in your room. Obviously, at different times of the day, it is lighter. It's lighter when it's midday than it is when it's 4 o'clock. Have a little think and think about why you think that is and why the changes happen. Okay, so hopefully you've enjoyed today and that you've learnt that the shadow gets bigger the closer to the light source it is. The further away from the light source, the shadow gets smaller. And also that shadow is made by the light rays being blocked. Okay, now we have got a bit more work to do on this next week. Okay, so I'll see you next week. Until then, bye bye. Don't forget to send your work into your teacher.